Dang, I was hoping I could still fart and like it wouldn't be an issue, but apparently I'm gonna have to be careful.
You got to squeeze it in. Okay.
Okay.
So honestly, that can be our introduction. Welcome to the Unprofessionals podcast. This is the best of 2015 pod. We squeezed it in on the last day of 2015 because why not? What's more unprofessional than doing the best of the year on the last day of the year? And on the phone, live from the crap part of Soho, we have Nathan Page.
What's good? Coming at you from Bells Ferry and Eagle Drive in Town Lake at the only PNC Bank in Cherokee County, which is our unofficial sponsor of the year-end pod.
Whoa, what happened to the our last sponsor? The I don't even remember what they're called, which is
the mobile hop-in off Trickham and Arnold Mill.
The mobile hop-in.
They're the name sponsor. So I normally do that at the end.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's my bad. Okay, so
that's all good.
Getting started. I guess the funniest part of the list you sent me was that your game of the year, your video game of the year, not we don't play board games here. That is NBA 2K16. And why don't you give our one or two listeners an explanation as to why that is your game of the year?
Well, because here's the thing. I don't play a lot of video games, and as of right now, my gaming system is currently a laptop. And it's not like a really nice gaming laptop. It's just kind of a laptop. And the only game I have for it is NBA 2K16, which I will be honest, I've played a lot of sports games in my day. Like that was all I played. And I played every single one, and I bought the new one every year because I'm a chump. And this is the best sports game I think I've ever played. But like the things you can... Yeah, because I think they made up new game modes that are freaking fantastic. Like you could literally spend months on any one of the game modes that they've created. And there's like 5 different ones that are really enjoyable.
Okay,
the graphics are insane.
Give me a little background on the game modes because I've been really tempted by 2K16. The problem is I already spent too much of my time playing FIFA, Star Wars, and Fallout, so it'd be kind of dangerous to add another one. But just tell me about the game modes because honestly, I had no idea they added new game modes.
Well, I want to clarify before we dive deeper into this. Anybody who's listening, we're going to get on to our movies of the year, TV show of the year, album of the year, and sports moments of the year. So if you're not interested in video games, skip ahead like 5 minutes and you'll skip all this, just to clarify for everybody. But as far as the game modes, so there's obviously you can do like a dynasty kind of mode, My League. That's the one I do a lot. It's fun. I mean, you can move your teams to a new city, which is cool. You can like change everything down to like what the sleeves look like on the new jersey and all that stuff. If you like really want to get nerdy on it, it's awesome. So I'm a total nerd for that stuff and I love it. But then there's My Career where you create a player and they go through like Spike Lee made this whole script, which is kind of lame, but once you get past the first season, it's really good. And so, I mean, you can dive deep into that, creating your own career. They have My GM where you are the GM of a team that you pick and like your owner sets goals for you and you have to like go through and you control everything from the team and you play the games just like you would in like a dynasty, except for it's like the My Career version of dynasty mode. Where there's goals and you level up, you become better. You can eventually own a team. I think you can move your team to a different city, change the jersey, change the court, change the arena, things like that. And then there is like the My Team where you can, which I think every sports game does My Team now, where you can like develop your own team using, it's like a trading card kind of format. Like you build it using virtual currency. I don't know. The more I talk about it, the worse I'm going to feel about myself. And then they have like the online modes, which is basically like, it's called My Park, and you can it's basically like playing and one street ball or like what was the NBA street ball game?
There's NBA Street.
Yeah. So it's like playing NBA Street but online and with the 2K graphics, and it's freaking great.
Okay.
So, and the gameplay itself is like the smoothest gameplay ever for a game. So it's just a good time.
Does the player's head still go through the backboard if you dunk?
No.
They finally stopped that?
Yeah, that's done. Okay. That was fixed a couple years ago, I think.
I'm glad to hear that. Okay, my video game of the year, just for its massive real world, I don't even know how to describe it. It's based Fallout 4. And for those of you who haven't played Fallout, and I hadn't played Fallout until Fallout 4, it's a game set in post-apocalyptic cities. And this year, the game, not this year, they do it every few years, but this version of the game was set in Boston. So it's kind of cool walking around.
That's cool.
There's like a little like settlement set up in Fenway Park. And that's really the only Boston site that I know. But I know for people who are from Boston, who have been to Boston, they've talked about how realistic it is, even though it's set in post-apocalyptic time. So that game's pretty cool just because the massiveness of the world is insane, and because you can play that game literally forever because of how many different quests and all that stuff you can do. My runners up and honorable mentions were Star Wars Battlefront and FIFA 16. FIFA 16, for the same reason you probably liked NBA so much, is just they keep making these sports games better somehow, and somehow they're more fun and more realistic, which it's probably been 5 or 6 times where either my wife or my mom has come over, or my sister, and they've thought it was a real soccer game on the screen when they first walked in. And they're like, no, that's actually a video game. And it's crazy how real these games look now. And Star Wars Battlefront, just because it's Star Wars looking better than ever, and you can play those characters. So total nerd quality. I mean, it is just a normal first person shooter. It's just the most realistic Star Wars shooter ever. So that is I didn't really think about starting off so nerdy because we probably just lost the 2 people who were listening. But if you have stayed on, we are now going to move on to movies, which is probably the most favorite. So why don't you go ahead and give your favorite movies of 2015?
Well, I will say with my list, I saw your list and I agree. I think your list is probably, well, I didn't see one of the movies on your list, but the 2 that you picked, I agree would probably be in my top 3, but I just kind of wanted to add some variety so we're not praising the same movies. But I chose Creed, Dope, Me, Earl, and The Dying Girl. And that third one is one movie. That's not 3 separate movies. So Creed and Dope were both really good. Creed was just fantastic because I thought it was just going to be like, oh, let's pay homage to the old Rocky movies and then kind of like try to create a new story. It did that a little bit, but it really focused on the new story. And the new story is fantastic. Michael B. Jordan was awesome. Sly was as good as ever. And the girl they had playing in it, what's her name? Do you remember her name?
Oh, gosh, not off the top of my head. I can look it up.
Yeah, I don't either. She was so good, though. I love that. So that was probably the most surprising movie of the year for me. And then Dope was really good. Just had a good storyline, really good acting. And it was people I had never seen in movies before. And then A$AP Rocky, of course, he was in it. So that's cool. And then Me, Earl, and The Dying Girl was a great movie.
Teresa Thompson.
Yes. So, but I would probably have done Star Wars, The Big Short, and Me, Earl, and The Dying Girl as my top movies 2015.
Okay. And since you kind of alluded to that, my 3 movies and there were a lot more, just like I told you earlier, my favorite new movie, Cicero, or Cesario is actually how it's pronounced, but I am obsessed with pizza, so apparently I call it Sicilian or whatever. My favorite movies of 2015 were Black Mass, which is probably the oldest one. I can't remember. It came out this year, but it seems like forever ago because of how many great movies have come out within the last month. Black Mass was just great because I'm a sucker for a mob movie. And I'm an even bigger sucker when the guy who is the lead of the mob movie is an insane freak. And Johnny Depp just absolutely, I'm not talking about Johnny Depp as the person, but even though he kind of is, but Johnny Depp, the way he played Whitey Bulger was absolutely insane. There's just a couple scenes in that movie that are reminiscent of like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas, where you just don't really know what he could do. And he could literally do anything and you wouldn't be shocked or surprised by his actions.
Yeah.
So Black Mass was really good. And then The Big Short, which we saw the other week, is...
Yeah, we should say we saw that at like 1:30 on Wednesday afternoon?
Yeah, it was Christmas Eve.
Yeah. It was great.
And The Big Short was cool because it's just this weird combination of comedy and horror, because for us, I think the horror was that we didn't really realize how bad the financial crisis was until this movie, which is kind of, I don't know. at least that's how it was from my perspective, which is kind of sad because I'm not, a historian or whatever. And I didn't really realize that, but it was funny just because you have crazy Christian Bale, you have Steve Carell basically playing a more insane version of Michael Scott. And then you have Ryan Gosling being like the douchey financial guy who's funny. And it's just a weird combination. And then, the cameos from like the model, Selena Gomez and the Anthony Bourdain. And it was just a really funny movie. But then there was the horror of realizing the aftermath that this housing market crash had on everyone. So that movie was, and then Star Wars, because, it's Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, and with the Big Short, it was like, we talked about it afterwards. It's not one of those movies you leave feeling like good about. You don't leave the movie feeling good, but you do leave the movie knowing that was a great movie, because it was so well done, really creative. The way they chose to explain everything was really cool. So definitely worth seeing. And I also wanted to say, like, we're doing this podcast before both of us have seen, or either of us have seen, The Revenant or The Hateful Eight.
Yes,
which are both movies that came out this week.
Well, The Revenant I thought didn't come out until the 7th.
Yeah. You're right.
But
Neither of them come out. Oh yeah. So yeah, that one's, we haven't seen either of those movies. I haven't seen The Martian or Straight Outta Compton, so I feel like I don't know if I've seen like all the best movies, but
Martian I don't think would have gotten in.
No, you don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Just real quick, we have a third sponsor actually. It's Pete's Coffee, and if you listen closely, you can hear the.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that's fantastic! Straight out of the French press. Oh, that's good stuff. Okay.
How is it?
We got our movies of the year out of the way, which...
Oh, one last one that we haven't seen is Spotlight. I haven't seen Spotlight.
Me either. And that...
I heard it's great, though.
You're probably right. That would... I think both of us really love those kind of movies, like the journalist trying to get the story, he's looking over his shoulder. We both, those are really fun movies. So those, Spotlight would probably be, close to the movies that we liked. I guess moving on to TV shows, I'll go ahead and go first. This has been a really great year for TV. One, because this is the first year I haven't lived in my parents' house, so I was able to watch some more TV. But number one, and this is in no particular order, it's just the first one on my list, was Better Call Saul, which was the Breaking Bad spinoff, which I went into terrified, right? Because most of us went into Fear the Walking Dead being terrified. Breaking Bad is probably the greatest television show I've ever watched. It's just incredible. And, we don't need to talk about it because it's a couple years old. But Better Call Saul is a spinoff starring Bob Odenkirk, better known as Saul, the sleazy lawyer from Breaking Bad. And I was really scared it was going to just, I don't know, kind of suck. But in weird ways, Vince Gilligan is so smart in the way that, and I can't really remember what his particular role is within the series as far as directing or writing or whatever it may be. But it's set in the same area. There's Saul and Mike, so a couple of the side characters from Breaking Bad, but it was just a really good show. It's kind of going into more of the backstory of Saul, and Bob Odenkirk is just a fantastic actor, so it's really good to follow. Yeah. He stays in character, and somehow that character was interesting enough. And it wasn't kind of like how you and I talked about Minions this summer, was that Minions were this really cool, side piece in Despicable Me that were hilarious, but when they had their own movie, it was kind of like, okay, I can handle these guys, and they're hilarious, and they were great as side roles, but a whole movie, it's like you were kind of tired of them after 30 minutes. And
because they're kind of one joke.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you hear the same joke for an hour and a half.
Exactly. And that was kind of what I was worried about going into Better Call Saul, was that Saul was great for, 10 minutes here and there within Breaking Bad. But, you kind of see a different side of him earlier on. So that's a great show. A second show would be Master of None. I'll never know how to say his name. Aziz Ansari. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Aziz Ansari's show, Master of None. We both really love that show. I just got back from New York City, and my wife's cousin has lived up there for 9 years. And I asked him, I was like, did his show do a good job of portraying the life in New York City that, young people live, because her cousin's young? And he said, yeah, it was probably the greatest show he's seen that did a portrayal of the way New York City kind of eaves and flows. I don't know if that's the term I'm looking for, but just the kind of the way it works and the nonstop nature of it. And so that was pretty cool. And not to mention, Aziz is just adorable and funny. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, he's great.
And my third, I have two shows for my third, and they're like a docudrama and a documentary, but it's kind of laid out in a TV show format on Netflix and on HBO. Making a Murderer and Jinx. Making a Murderer was released 2 weeks ago, and Jinx was released in March. But I just watched them both in the last week. Katie and I just couldn't stop watching them. It was kind of the first show that I've binge watched, basically, which I despise.
Yeah.
It's disgusting, but I couldn't help it. It's these docudramas that focus on real life stories. And if you haven't watched either of them, then it's like a serial for the podcast on steroids. It's these insane stories that you can't believe are real. And you keep kind of looking at the person you're watching with going, this actually happened? And you have to keep reminding yourself it's a true story. But it's really entertaining. And again, it's like Making a Murderer is 10 episodes and Jinx is 6. So if you put them all together, it would be a ridiculously long thing, but it kind of counts as a TV show just because of the format. So that was my third best TV show of the year. Honorable mention to Fear the Walking Dead, which was really good and didn't somehow butcher The Walking Dead as much as I thought it would. So honorable mention to that. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first on, I guess I don't know if this is in any order, but I discovered all the TV shows that are on this list this year, and they were all really good. So I binged watched like Fargo and The Leftovers are on here. But the first one that I want to talk about because it's fantastic is Mr. Robot, and it's about it's kind of cool because it all lives inside the head of the main character, Elliot, and he's kind of this like unstable. You're not really sure what's going on with him, but he's kind of a hacker. He works at a software security company, and then he just kind of finds himself wrapped up in a larger thing. As I don't know, new characters are introduced, you kind of realize like he's part of this conglomerate that's trying to take down this organization that kind of has tentacles into the world's economy. So it's just a cool story of them trying to take down digitally, basically the entire digital economic system. And so that's like kind of his nightlife is him falling into this society that is taking over or trying to, it's basically they're trying to be a digital Robin Hood. So he finds himself in that world while also living his day job and the rest of it. And at first you watch the first episode, you watch the pilot and you're like, well, this is going to be one of those shows where by day he's a computer software analyst and at night he's taking down bad guys digitally. But it becomes it's shot kind of like a movie, and the whole storyline is filmed as a movie, and that's the way the screenplay was originally written. So it's just, man, it was so good. The way they used it and developed the characters, the acting is phenomenal. The storyline's really engaging. It's the most unique TV show I've seen in a long time. And it kind of got a cool community built around it of people who which I don't know anybody. I know that there's a lot of people who started watching it who got really into it. And I will say one thing, I don't think this will give anything away, but if you liked the movie Fight Club, I think you'll really like this movie or this show.
And I think
that was
kind of a cool note on that. And I haven't watched it yet. It's on my list, and it would probably be the top show because it sounds like a great show. But it was kind of cool when the instance that happened wasn't cool. It was when the reporter was shot live on TV. And I just remember hearing a report Mr. Robot had to push back their season finale or whatever, because there was a scene that was closely depicted kind of what had happened. So that was totally random, but that was just kind of what I think of when I think of Mr. Robot. And that is definitely on my list. So
yeah. Well, and even going along with that, the movie in such a weird way connects with what's happening in real life, just with the data leaks and Ashley Madison. Is that what it's called? Ashley Madison?
Yes.
So when that happens, they went back in an episode and put that in because everything else was already so closely related to what's happening in real life. And it's weird how closely it mirrors what's happening in the world. And then, like you said, the finale, there's a scene that closely resembles that. And so they pushed it back a week, it was smart by them to do that. So I don't know. It's a great show, man. Worth watching. And then Fargo, I decided I was going to try to watch season 1 this year, and I really liked it. And then I started watching season 2, and season 2 was even better. It's just I would say Mr. Robot is the most surprising and new and different show that I've ever watched. Fargo is one of the most enjoyable shows I've ever watched. There's a dark side to everything, but as far as I don't know, I don't want to get too weird about nerdy about it, but it's they just create a really enjoyable world to watch. you want to be a part of the show in a weird way, because all the characters are just really well done, very unique, and just fun. Like in all of the drama and all the stuff that's kind of wrapped up in the story and all the darkness that's in the story, it's like for some reason it's just enjoyable to watch. So Fargo season 2 was fantastic. And then The Leftovers season 2, I had never heard of the show. I guess I had seen stuff for it. I was like, I don't know about this, but it was really enjoyable too. It was about, I don't know if it's enjoyable. It's kind of a hard show to watch, but season 2 was great. I actually heard about it on one of the Bill Simmons podcasts, The Watch, and they talk about this show a lot. And so I went back and watched season 1. It was kind of hard to get through, but season 2 just took it to a different level and took it to a new place. And it's about the basic premise of the show, just if you haven't watched it, is 2% of the world population disappears on October 14th. I forget the year. And it's set in modern day. And so it's kind of about how people respond to that. Because it's like, oh, that doesn't seem like a big number. But that's hundreds of millions of people. And it's almost as if, honestly, that a rapture occurs and people don't really know how to respond to it. So you have people creating cults. You have people mourning loved ones. You have people trying to figure out, like, why is this happening? And so it's just kind of an interesting look into how people would respond to that. But season 1 is all about that. It's all about grief. It's all about how do we deal with this kind of thing. And then season 2 moves beyond that, kind of takes it to a new place and makes it more of more of a dynamic show, I would say. So if you want to watch something I think that one's the most like leaves me on the edge of my seat. I want to watch the next episode because of how much I don't know what's coming next. So I would say Mr. Robot is like the best show of the year. Fargo season 2 is the most enjoyable show to watch. And then The Leftovers was probably the one that I had to watch because of how it keeps you hooked. And then honorable mention, Show Me a Hero and Daredevil. Daredevil was on Netflix and it was really good. Probably the best thing Marvel's done, I think, from a TV show perspective. And then Show Me a Hero was like a short series that HBO did where it was about starring Oscar Isaac. He plays a mayor in New York. And it's about just kind of the civil rights and how he tried to bring new houses. He tried to bring people out of the projects into like new houses in a different community, and the pushback he got. And it's honestly pretty depressing. I wouldn't recommend anybody watching it, but it was really well done. So I thought I would at least throw it out there. So
very cool.
Anyways, there you go.
So I guess moving on, we're going to talk about our favorite albums of the year. I'm right off the bat. I'm not a huge music guy, specifically because podcasts have kind of taken over my car ride, but there were a few albums this year that I actually really, really enjoyed. Number one would probably be Coldplay's album, A Head Full of Dreams. And that's probably, I love Coldplay. Number two would probably be Dr. Dre's Compton soundtrack was really, really good. Dr. Dre, and he's awesome. And Muse's album Drones was pretty good. It wasn't Muse that I have grown up and loved, but it was still Muse, and they had some new sounds on there, so that was pretty cool. And like I said, not a big music guy, so I'm not really diving deep by saying Dr. Dre, Coldplay, and Muse, but those are the albums that I kind of look back on and really enjoyed. Yeah,
very cool. For me, it was Sound and Color by Alabama Shakes. And I'm with you, I'm not a big music guy, but this one caught my attention. I think I've listened to the title track from this one 100 times since I heard it first. And it's actually another thing I liked about it. It's the last song, to bring it back to our last part. It's the last song in the season finale of Mr. Robot. So there's another shout out for that. But anyways, Sound and Color was a great album all around. I love Alabama Shakes anyways, but this album was really good. It was a little different. And then another one that I really liked was Coming Home by Leon Bridges. They're both are kind of like soul, a little bit of blues, a little bit of, I guess not folk, but definitely some blues and soul to it. And I like both of those a lot. But I don't really have any other ones because my life has been dominated by podcasts, and life has just become less about albums. I think everybody picks and chooses songs that they like. And so, but as far as albums go, those are my two favorites.
Okay. I guess that's it for our entertainment section, unless you have anything else you want to add for entertainment.
No, I think that was it.
Well, did you want to give a little rest in peace to True Detective?
Oh, yes. So True Detective season 1 was really good. Like, I loved it. And then True Detective Season 2 comes along, and I was so excited because Taylor Kitsch was in it. If you've ever watched Friday Night Lights, Vince Vaughn was a little confusing, but I believed that he could be he was going to be kind of like a mob boss. I was like, you know what, this could work. And then Colin Farrell,
hang on. I haven't seen True Detective, but did you just say Vince Vaughn was portraying a mob boss?
Okay, not mob boss. That's not a good way. He like owned casinos, but he was definitely in the mob. He wasn't like a mob boss per se. Okay, you know what? He was a mob boss. Yeah, Vince Vaughn was portraying a mob boss.
Oh my gosh!
The same guy that owns Average Joe's Gym was a mob boss in freaking Los Angeles. But it just sounded like a good show. It's like Rachel McAdams is a detective. Colin Farrell is like a rogue, both sides of the law cop. Like you thought, okay, this could be really good. It's set in LA, set in California. So I was like, man, it has all the makings of being a good show. And season 1 tells me that, which again, now that I look back on it and the more I go back and kind of watch stuff from True Detective season 1, I realize that maybe it hinged more on the fact that Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey were freaking brilliant. But watching this, the writing was terrible. You couldn't follow any of the storyline. Like literally, I've never watched a TV show where I would watch, and as something was happening, I'd be like, wait, why did that happen? How did there's a whole moment where the show shifts from like, they don't know what's happening, why, like what villain, like where the villain is or what's going on. And then all of a sudden, like, they don't even show them getting a tip. They just are all of a sudden breaking into a drug ring and they shoot it up and there's this huge gunfight. But you don't know why it happens. They're like, yeah, we got a tip. Let's go do it. And you're like, wait, you literally had no idea what was going on. How did this even happen? So
this sounds a lot like Expendables 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, it feels like one of those movies playing out. So with that said, I'm done with True Detective. I thought it had so much potential to be a good show. And it had all the actors, and like Colin Farrell's performance was fantastic. Like he was so good, and his character was really compelling. But man, the show was terrible.
Okay, so let's say there's a season 3 weird drugged down cop Christian Bale and new up and coming Lawrence. Would you be in?
Holy crap! Well, yeah, man. Just because those two, I'll see anything with those two in it.
Okay.
Dang it, man. So I'm gonna be sucked in if they get a good cast. Like I might watch it, but I don't know.
Okay. So moving on to, we're both big sports fans, and I think it kind of reflects on our last podcast where we talked about where we are as sports fans. That 90% of this best of 2015 was entertainment, and I think that kind of defines where we are. As fans of stuff, as entertainment's kind of dominated. As far as sports moments, I will go first. I didn't put this in our notes, but I totally had a brain fart. So this past year was the first season that I was really a big soccer fan. So it was really cool that I happened to pick the team that won the Premier League in Chelsea. And when they won, I believe it was in May. I could be wrong on that. It was cool.
That's right.
It was kind of cool just to root for a title winning team. And then I would also compare and contrast that with how the back end of 2015 has gone for Chelsea and how it's just been awful with the firing of the sacking of Jose Mourinho. But it's been a really cool year as a soccer fan, through the ups and downs, and just so as far as sports moments, that's probably my favorite. My second favorite would be, even though it happened on December 30th, 2014, my wedding day, I remember watching Jim Harbaugh, his introductory press conference to Michigan.
Yeah.
It was, my dad and I were sitting there, and it was just like this weird, surreal experience watching this legend of a coach come to Michigan. And so that's just been really cool to watch play out over this year. And then third and finally, probably the most iconic sports moment in my head was the Patriots interception. And I'm not a Patriots fan per se. I'm a Detroit everything, so I root for the Lions, but I do root for Tom Brady just because of the Michigan connection. And so I've rooted for him in Super Bowls and stuff. And it was kind of cool watching, the Seahawks had that crazy long throw on that final drive.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady's about to get he's about to get, is there another word for screwed over? Because I can't think of another term. And I was looking it up last night. I literally couldn't find anything.
I mean, gypped. I don't know if that's is about to get I know there's a word, I can't think of it. We are terrible.
I know.
We should be wordsmiths.
But so Tom Brady was about to get screwed over again just by this crazy play. And I mean, of course, we're saying, Tom Brady's, the rich, millionaire Super Bowl winning model married quarterback is getting screwed over.
Say what you're thinking. He's the sexiest man in football. Just say it. We're all thinking it.
It's true. So it was really cool then to see the narrative flip like that with the Seahawks about to run the ball and score a touchdown, and Russell Wilson's about to be a back-to-back Super Bowl winning quarterback. And then all of a sudden Butler has the interception of the year. And it's just like this crazy flip of emotion and narrative, which is always the best feeling, whether you're rooting for it or not. And if you're rooting against it, it's not. But it's the, kind of the defining stuff we feel in sports, and the stuff that, keeps bringing us back is those narrative flips where you're just like, how do you even plan something like that? And so that was probably the defining sports moment of the year for me. How about you?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was huge. I mean, just watching that moment, everyone was thinking, all right, you've got the guy who's been probably the most dominant running back in the playoffs for sure, maybe the entire season. Since Adrian Peterson was out, he was probably the best. And you have him at the 1 yard line or 2 yard line. You got a timeout left, clock ticking down. Like, why not run the ball? Everything. I mean, I remember seeing memes that said, Madden be like, and it had like the dive play that you would run in Madden. And I love that.
Did the NBA tweet that?
No. Okay. Oh my gosh. Why haven't we talked about NBA Twitter at all?
Why didn't we do worst of the year? Because if we did a worst of the year, we could probably talk for about 30 minutes on how NBA Twitter, and it's other sports as well, but mainly because we follow the NBA so closely. NBA Twitter sucks now. It's like a 12-year-old.
It's terrible.
The same 12-year-old is running SportsCenter's Instagram and NBA's Instagram and Twitter feed. It's ridiculous.
No, you know what it feels like? It feels like a 35-year-old is trying to write the way a 12-year-old would on Twitter. It feels like a millennial said, hey, or no, it feels like a 40-year-old be like, what do millennials want to hear on Twitter? Let's type that out. That's what it feels like, because it's always like that shot though, and then it's a picture of Steph Curry, and it's like, dude, come on. And I don't know. It's I wanted to tweet so many times. Never mind, I can't even say that on here, so I won't say anything else. But anyways, NBA Twitter has made me hate sports at times. So
I would agree. Okay.
Anyways,
so your best sports moments of the year.
Best sports moment of the year. I put down a few because both as a fan of specific teams and then as a general sports fan. As a general sports fan, Jeter's last game was really cool. The whole farewell tour, seeing him, it was like at moments it was a little bit like the Kobe thing because he wasn't the same guy. But on his last game, hitting the game-winning walk-off hit was pretty cool. Was it a homer? Did he hit a homer on his last at bat?
No, I think it was a single, wasn't it?
Yeah, either way, he got a hit and it was a walk-off for his last hit. It was just a cool way for the captain to go out. I'm not a Yankees fan. In fact, I despise the Yankees, but you have to respect. I respect what Jeter's done through his career.
Oh gosh, it was an RBI single at Fenway.
Oh god. Okay. Yikes.
Yeah, that has to make it in there. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean at Fenway, that's fantastic. So I mean, whether the guy
was that
lays
this
one
year
in there,
or was that last year?
That was this year, wasn't it? Oh, was that last year?
Dude, are you having like a total old man? You are having an old man moment. It was 2014. Come on. It shows how much we both watch baseball.
Wow.
Let's have
Can you cut this out?
No, this is like, dude, that's odd. And the fact that I was going along with it, like, yeah, man, that's great. That's awesome stuff.
Yeah.
We just don't care about baseball at all.
Dang it, man. That sucks. See, okay, this is evidence that I've become more like a dad since I got married than ever before in my life. Like, the dad process has sped up exponentially. There are moments when I hear the price of something that's super expensive, I literally, the first thing that pops into my head without even thinking is, oh, I better do my taxes too. Oh. It's like literally that dad joke pops into my head so fast. There's nothing I can do. So like someone, this bike is $1,000. Well, is it going to file my taxes for me? Every time, man.
Okay, so let's just completely forget that Derek Jeter's last game, your sports moment of 2015.
That was if we had done a best of 2014 podcast. That's what that was. Yeah. Anyways, so for me, looking way back. For me, the Ole Miss Alabama game Ole Miss Alabama 2, as I put it in our notes, was such a fun game to watch. Even though Alabama kept coming back, but I mean, there were 2 times Ole Miss is up 20. They score on a couple of crazy plays. Alabama keeps fighting back. The game was just never over until finally Alabama threw that last interception. So it was just fun as an Ole Miss fan, especially watching us beat. And of course, I was on the field, so that's why I'm saying us now. Watching the team that I root for take down a team like Alabama, who's now in the playoff. Again, that game was my favorite game to watch by far. And just everything that went into that, it's cool to watch. Another one, I would say games 1 through 3 of the NBA Finals back in May, which were this year. I know that for a fact. Those games were so fun. The Kyrie Irving versus Steph in the first game, and then watching LeBron put the team on his back and just kind of slow it down to a snail's pace and send the game of basketball back to the 90s for a couple of games, and somehow it was working. It was just fantastic. And then watching the Warriors adjust, but especially games 1 through 3, where it looked like the Cavaliers were the better team. And it was all on the back of LeBron doing what he was doing, scoring 40 points and almost averaging a triple-double. He was insane. So those were fantastic to watch. I would say OSU's playoff run last January. I know that I guess that technically started December 31st, but watching them go from a team that nobody was really counting in to then after the Big Ten championship, they got in after destroying Wisconsin. And then with a backup quarterback, they went undefeated and really outclassed everybody. They looked like the best team on the field throughout the playoffs. So, and I would say that run is historic. I don't know if we'll ever see anything like that again as far as a backup quarterback coming in and leading a team to a national championship like that. And then another great thing for me was obviously the Knicks drafting Kristaps. I was one of the few people that was actually pleased with that decision. And I've got friends who will vouch for me on that. So the Knicks, yeah, I was in on Kristaps. I did not think he would be this good this fast. He's struggling now. He's kind of like regressing to the mean, if you will. But yeah, so those are all the moments that I thought were good and enjoyable. And then one that I thought was super disappointing, if we're doing the worst of this year, was the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight. It was a total flop.
Oh,
We've been waiting on that for years. I'm not a big boxing fan. I used to be more into it. But just seeing them, I didn't get to watch any of it, but just hearing about it, I followed it on my phone, because you can get the round by round thing. I didn't want to pay for the fight. I kind of expected it to be the way it was, but it makes you wish they had done it 5 years sooner or 10 years sooner when they were in their prime. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, that was probably the worst of the year for sports, as well as the lead up to that. I didn't pay for it either. I watched it at someone else's house, but it was terrible. And honestly, the best fight of the year was probably Creed. Any of his fights, I'll take the fake ones over the quote unquote real thing with Pacquiao and Mayweather, which sucked.
Well, so what would you say is some other worst of the year? Like another worst of the year, I'm thinking of Game 5, Rockets and Clippers. The Clippers are just running away with it in the second quarter. They're throwing alley-oops that aren't there. JJ tried to throw an alley-oop and threw it out of bounds. Clippers are just up big, trashing the Rockets. They bench James Harden. Then the next thing I know, I turn the game on in the fourth quarter and the Rockets are winning. I mean, that was the beginning of the end for the Clippers, and they haven't looked the same since. So, are there any things like that you see?
I mean, I guess American Pharaoh winning was kind of cool, even though I didn't watch a second of it. I guess another thing was Kentucky and Wisconsin, how Wisconsin, knocked off Kentucky to keep them away from the, I think that was in the Final Four, was it not?
Yeah.
Then there was the Serena Williams almost winning the Grand Slam this year, which was really cool. Steph Curry, obviously, we talked about. I would say the Royals, but I don't really care about the Royals that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool sports story, but it's not I don't like baseball that much. So
worst of the year might have been we could have had a Cubs Mets NL championship.
Oh yeah.
Well, wait, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. We could have had that's how much I know about baseball. I couldn't remember if the Mets made it or not, but that would have been great. So that was kind of the worst of the year, as that could have happened. And And then, yeah, I mean, that's probably, I'm trying to think, those are probably the best and / worst sports moments of the year. I think we covered.
It's just been a good year in sports.
Yeah, it has. I have a, probably one of my worst of the year was learning that, in the span of the year, you went from a Manchester City to a Manchester United fan.
Oh, come on.
And then totally bailed on the Premier League this season, leaving me by myself with my soccer fandom with no one to talk to anymore. I just talk to myself with Katie. Listening.
Listen, spring is coming. And with that,
stop teasing me.
Nathan's soccer fandom will arise.
Bull crap.
Listen, I'm about to get in it with you, man. I'll be right there next to you. I'll be cheering on Swansea City as they dwindle to the middle of the table and just stay there forever. Unless are they in relegation yet? Because I know they started off at the top of the table and then kind of dwindled because all they have is Gomis and Ayew.
No, they were not at the. They were not at the top.
I'm talking like 4 weeks in, they were like in the top 4. That's all I'm saying. Not like I'm saying like real early.
Right now, they're 2 points from the relegation zone. So
there we go. That's my kind of team.
I don't know. I mean, hey, maybe you're more of a Bundesliga man.
I don't know, man. I can't understand all those words. I need something I can read.
No.
I could do La Liga.
No, Fox Sports covers it, so it's in English.
Bundesliga?
Yeah.
I just think of Dwight Schrute whenever I hear the word Bundesliga. Like I feel like that's something he would say. Guten Tag, yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this question. I know we're going long, but I thought this might be a good question. Of the different lists we had, is there something that you think? Okay, pick out 3 things of all the stuff we've talked about that, like, if somebody only could pick 3 things that we talked about, which 3 would you say they have to partake in? Like a TV show, movie, video game, sports moment. Like if they have to live those things out, they have to see those things. What is it?
Okay. And because we're talking about a singular moment, I think that rules out a couple of things. Like Better Call Saul. You'd have to, it's a good TV show on its own, but it's cooler because of Breaking Bad. So you have to rule that out. Same thing with the Patriots interception. It was a great moment, but it was even greater because of, like I said, the kind of the leading up to it with Tom Brady. So I guess if we're just talking about a singular moment, I would say you have to watch Making a Murderer because it's one of the most insane stories I've ever heard. And it's not made up. It's actually real. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it involves like police framing and someone being in jail for 18 years for something they didn't do and all that stuff. Yeah. It's actually real. So I would say Making a Murderer, number 1. Number 2, I couldn't really pick a video game because it's kind of hard just to jump into a video game without, I mean, maybe it's not, I don't know, but I'm not going to pick a video game. For the movie, I'd say The Big Short, just because it's kind of an interesting way of storytelling, and they're not the first people to break down the fourth wall and to like talk to the audience, but it was cool seeing like a blockbuster movie because I just haven't seen that often. So those 2, and then gosh, I guess as far as a third, I would have to say, man, this is terrible talking, but I literally have no idea what I would pick as a third. I mean, maybe FIFA 16. I don't know. I have 2 for sure, Making a Murderer and The Big Short. But I'm probably not sure about a third. How about you?
No, I like that you're not generous with your moments. You want to make sure that people get the absolute best. Exactly. I appreciate that. Okay, I would say I'm with you on The Big Short. That was just such a unique movie because it had like probably all the best actors of their generation right now. I mean, all the big names that you want to see, like, and people you love to see on screen. Like even Brad Pitt being in it was just like, he wasn't in it a lot, but when he was, you wanted to see him on screen. And Ryan Gosling played the best version of himself. And it was that same guy he played in Crazy Stupid Love. So it was a great movie. And like you said, the way they talked with the audience, and it wasn't so much that they did talk to the audience, it was the way they did it with the people they used, and so good. So that's definitely, I would agree with that. I don't know if there's like a sports moment I'm like, you have to relive this, mostly because I picked Jeter's Game, and that was in 2014. So I can't pick that. I'm not a big music guy, so I'm not
Game
anymore.
One of the
at
NBA
least
finals will probably be the closest singular, just fun experience without any backstory.
That's true. Yeah. If you want to watch like And that's the thing about the NBA Finals that I love is most of the time the right teams are there. And most of the time the best team wins. And so I would just say, like, watching that game gives you a picture of, like, the purest and best sports you can watch. Like, because both teams were playing at their best. Both teams shot well. Both teams defended well. So that was a great one to watch. So, yeah, that'll be number 2 for me. And then number 3 is TV. Like, I don't know. It's hard because Fargo is legitimately the most enjoyable TV watch I think I've ever had, just because the world they created. I mean, it's about this season is about the battle between a small time, like, mob kind of thing going on in South Dakota against this Kansas City conglomerate mob. And it's like this battle between the big business and the family business, but it's all about a mob in the Midwest, and these small town cops are kind of swept up into it. And so it's just, man, it's a fun story. The acting is phenomenal. So that would probably be 3rd, even though Mr. Robot is, like, right there on the edge of what I would pick. But Fargo, the way the season plays out, and it seems like every TV show is trying to get as dark as it can and surprise audiences with how dark it can be. Fargo seems to, like, kind of resist that temptation. And even though there is dark things, there is evil present in certain parts of the show, it keeps, like, a light tone to the whole show, and tends to focus on the bright side of things. So that's kind of refreshing. But anyways, yeah, those are my 3.
Okay. So. And the last thing I wanted to say was something I want to see happen in 2016, kind of like a New Year's resolution, is I want to see Nathan Page stick to sports teams. I don't want to have another experience to where I doubt you as I guess as a man. Like,
well, hold on. We need to clarify. This has never happened with other teams.
No,
this is not a trend for me. You know, like it's a sport that I was never really a fan of until probably the 2010 World Cup. I was about to say World Series. What's wrong with me? The World Cup. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start getting into this, and I started paying attention. But
it was so traumatic. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, so what? You're a great guy for 12 years, and then you commit a murder. It's like, okay, even though you want to murder until that moment, it's like afterwards, I'm always going to look at you and be like, dude, that's the dude who freaking switched from City to United in like 5 minutes.
I mean, it's not. I wouldn't say that's sports murder.
At some point, I'm gonna have to like, you know, move on and leave this behind. But it's just, it's just difficult. And I guess moving into 2016 starts in about 12 hours. So we're recording this Thursday morning. And I guess I'm gonna have to make it a New Year's resolution to move on. But it's just like, it's just kind of stained, you know. It's like you killed a dog.
Okay, let's say I do understand where you're coming from. I think you have a point. But the thing is, think about someone who comes into the NFL who's, let's say they're from Spain. They moved to America. His name is Juan. Okay?
Wow, that's
so Juan. Okay, you know what? That's a name.
How about Joe?
Juan Pablo Montoya. There's somebody from, I'm talking about a native Spanish person, a Spaniard, if you will. Is this getting too racy? Do I need to stop?
No.
Let's say a man moves here from Ireland. His name is Joe. His name's Joe. He moved here from Ireland. He has no connect. He watched rugby his whole life, and that was what was on TV when he was younger. He moves over to America. Now he's living in Ireland, and he's like, you know what? I want to be an NFL fan.
This is the worst story ever.
I know, because I'm all over the place. I'm doing this on the fly here, coming off the cuff. So he decides I'm going to be a Giants fan. All he realizes he doesn't really resonate with the Giants. He doesn't think that that's a good match for him. And he's like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I just want to find a team that fits me. So he decides, I'm going to be a Jets fan. Rex Ryan was the coach at the time, let's say. And he's like, Rex Ryan, I like the way he does business, which nobody else in America does. So that's fine. But he decides he wants to be a Jets fan. So he switches to the Jets. I mean, do you fault the man for that? He has no connection to it. He doesn't really feel the depth of the rivalry between the Giants and the Jets. Heck, okay. I barely do. I'm a Giants fan, and I barely feel the depth of that rivalry.
Here's my counter to this kind of this term of, you know, rooting for a team that you kind of relate to. And that's, whoa, what's with the beeping here? Come on.
Sorry, I'm in the car. Sorry.
I was in the middle of something here, but it's kind of like I've been a Pistons fan because I grew up in Detroit, and I've like this year's Pistons team, right? It consists of Reggie Jackson, Brandon Jennings, and Andre Drummond, along with Marcus Morris, right? Probably the most unlikable individual players you can think of. It's like, okay, Brandon Jennings, Reggie Jackson, and Marcus. Andre Drummond's all right. It's 20%.
They're likable guys,
but it's like
it's better than the Clippers.
It's so un-Pistons, right? It's growing up. I was true. With Ben Wallace, Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, and Rip Hamilton, like these guys who were just total team guys. And now I'm rooting for this team of, I don't even know how to explain it. It's Brandon Jennings, Reggie Jackson, and Marcus Morris. And
let's hold on. Let's be clear. That great team-oriented team was also the team that started the Malice in the Palace. Ben Wallace started the Malice in the Palace. Rasheed Wallace was a total goon, man.
Okay, Rasheed was, yes. But here's the thing. It's like that was the team I grew up with. So this team is totally different. And I'm not going to bail just because I don't relate to them. They're my team. I bob and weave with them.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. But my evolution of a sports fan was weird because it all stems from being an Ole Miss fan. I was an Ole Miss fan. Then Eli Manning was the quarterback of Ole Miss. He got drafted by the Giants. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to be a Giants fan. And then just being a Giants fan stuck. So then that combined with like my childhood of seeing the Knicks, seeing Latrell Sprewell and Patrick Ewing and stuff, I was like, okay, well then I'll be a Knicks fan because that kind of goes with being a Giants fan. And I haven't picked an NBA team. I was always following players. So it's like, I guess I don't know. It all kind of depends on how you perceive me as a sports fan, but I never found a way. It's not even about being related to a team. I guess I say that because I want to find a way to justify my switching teams, but I just haven't found a team that makes sense for me to follow yet. I don't know.
No, I mean, it was a crime of passion, basically. It wasn't premeditated. And so I guess even in our court system, right, if someone premeditates a murder rather than just a spur of the moment thing, there's less of a prison sentence. So I guess since this was you weren't really thinking about the long-term ramifications of bailing on me as a soccer fan. It was hurtful and harmful, but it wasn't premeditated. You didn't think, man, Josh is going to suffer from this, but I'm going to do it anyways. So
yeah, you're right. That's a good way to put it.
That doesn't have anything to do with the best of 2015. It was more so, here's what I'm bitter about in 2015.
Yeah. Well, here's my commitment to you.
Emotional podcast.
We're going to do a candlelit podcast coming up. You'll be part of it, acoustic, unplugged. But here's my commitment to you for 2016. The next choice that I make in EPL fandom will be the one that sticks. And if I switch, you can crucify me as a sports fan forever.
Well, so this one is of crucifixion.
Yeah. Sorry. Well, but this last one is this is premeditated, if you will. This one is being thought about. There's time being taken. Whereas with my other fandoms, I rushed in. I had a friend who was a City fan, so I was like, I'll be a City fan. And then that friend stopped being a City fan, and I was like, well, that's weird. And now I'm just a City fan. And then I thought I believed in what Man U was, and I thought I was buying stock low. And then I realized, man, I hate this, and I'm not a red at heart. I don't wear enough red to be a red. I'm a blue at my heart. And so, and now here I am without a team. And the next one I pick will be the team that I stick with. And I can promise you that.
Okay. I appreciate that. It's like a marriage vow. So I expect you to stick to it.
Yes, exactly.
And so I guess wrapping up 2015, it's been a good year. The Unprofessionals started. I guess we're on almost 6 months now, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it's been a good year. It's been a good year of TV, movies, video games, sports, all that stuff. And so moving forward to 2016, we are expectant of, I don't really know how to end this. We're expectant of much more. It's been a good year. So
yeah, absolutely.
Well, and thoughts?
Now I just want to say I hope everybody has a good new year. They celebrate well and are safe. And on behalf of the ExxonMobil Hop In off of Arnold Mill and Trickham, we thank you for listening, and we hope that you have an excellent beginning to 2016.
All right, and we are out.
See ya.